In Thandwe, we've never even heard a gunshot, let alone an explosion, so it's really scary.
It's becoming like a ghost town. It's making me really lonely.
Southern Rakhine has not experienced war for a long time. But people in Thandwe township are now getting caught in the crossfire, fleeing south or finding themselves trapped with no way out. Hello and welcome to Doh Athan, a weekly podcast about human rights stories from Myanmar. It's brought to you by Fondation Hirondelle. This episode is produced by a freelance Doh Athan journalist. Names and voices may have been changed to protect contributors. Thandwe is an old town and seaport in southern Rakhine State. In recent years, it's been well known as a gateway to the tourist resorts of Ngapali Beach. There are regular flights from Yangon. When there was fighting in northern Rakhine between the Arakan army and the Myanmar military in 2018 to 20, those tourist flights continued. After the military coup in 2021, as conflict spread to many parts of the country, Thandwe remained little affected. But now, war has become a frightening reality for locals. Maji Pa is 29 years old. Since her husband passed away, she's lived with her mother and 4-year-old daughter. She runs a dried fish business and had a quiet life until very recently.
In Thandwe, we've never even heard a gunshot, let alone an explosion, so it's really scary. I can't stop thinking about when a bomb might fall on my head or if one will fail and land here. It's making me paranoid. My words and actions don't even match anymore. I say one thing, but I do something completely different. It's that bad.
Fighting between the AA and the military resumed in November last year. And by late March, the AA had seized 8 Rakhine townships and come as far south as Ramri Island. Then the fighting spread to the southern region, and this conflict has seen PDF fighters from Ayeyarwady, Bago and Magwe join the AA. Between 14th to the 17th of May, Myanmar military forces reportedly shelled 4 villages between 10 to 20 miles away from Thandwe town. In Linthi village alone, news reports suggest 10 civilians were killed. Maji Pa lived only half a mile from an army artillery battalion base in Thandwe town. She could hear the shells being fired towards the battlefields north of town. Around this time, the AA told Thandwe residents to evacuate, but the military responded by putting up roadblocks on key exit routes. Then one night, her family was terrified by an airstrike that seemed much closer, in which 15 bombs were dropped. That night, despite the roadblocks, they fled to a village south of Thandwe.
All the roads were blocked. We had to sneak out despite the obstacles, and it wasn't easy. I was sad and scared to leave my home, but we had to do it for the kid. I worry about my child's future constantly, even though she's not even school age yet. It's exhausting, always fearing something might happen to her.
Locals say that around 2,000 people have fled Thandwe township in recent weeks. Most have gone south. All roads north are shut down, and the military has banned all water travel to and from Thandwe. Some people have taken flights out if they could afford them, but the airport was closed on 3rd of June. The road south to Gwa and beyond towards Ayeyarwady and Yangon was open, but authorities have restricted travel now to medical emergencies only. And even these people need to apply for police clearance and recommendation letters from the General Administration Office. Since the 28th of May, the office has not been open every day and has not been issuing letters. Locals say only 3 cars have been allowed through since then, all of them driven by local business people connected with the military. The road closures also mean that food and medical supplies are running out, and prices of some goods in stock have doubled or tripled. Gojojo has been volunteering since the coup. He's currently trying to find donors to help displaced locals with transportation, resettlement and supplies.
People need meds, food, drinks and cash. They got to have money for personal stuff. The commodity prices are through the roof, like 15,000 Jap for just a litre of gas. It's a real struggle for folks with health issues since there's no oxygen and no meds.
At the moment, there are no official organisations helping these internally displaced people, and there are no dedicated camps set up or even planned. Most locals are seeking refuge with relatives nearby, and those without relatives have to rent a place to stay. Some people can't afford to leave, and Gojojo says some of them are preparing for the worst.
For those who can't afford to leave, they build makeshift bomb shelters at home. Some people can't afford to make a shelter since it costs around 2.5 to 3 lakhs, so they have to move around a lot.
Gotun Nai is one of those who stayed behind in Thandwe town. He runs a small business and needs to earn money to support his family. He says that about just under half of the shops are still open. On the 28th of May, he sent his wife and daughter to stay in a village south of Thandwe, fearing for their safety. But fighting is getting even closer to town now. It's only about 5 miles away, near the airport. Gotun Nai keeps in touch with his family when he can. But power lines were damaged during the conflict further north, so the town has been without power since 17th of May. It's hard to make calls or use the internet, and people have to pay to charge their phones in shops with generators. Gotun Nai says it's a lonely life, but he doesn't want to leave until the last moment.
It's becoming like a ghost town. It's making me really lonely. Without my family around, it feels like I'm living alone here. I don't want to abandon this town, even if I'm putting my life at risk. I think I will try to hang on here as long as I can and only leave if there is absolutely no other choice left.
Thanks for listening to this edition of Doh Athan. We'd welcome your feedback on social media. This project on human rights reporting is supported by Fondation Hirondelle with the help of our donors. You can listen to our podcast via the Doh Athan Facebook page. They can also be found on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes and Spotify. You can also listen every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. and Sunday morning from 6 to 7 a.m. on Voice of America Radio. Please tune in again next week.